This was a bad day to film a video where I'm talking about skincare. My skin is a disaster right now. But today I wanted to answer every single question that I have been asked about Botox. I feel like Botox has become less of a taboo topic than it used to be in the past, but I still get questions all of the time from friends, so I'm sure all of you out there have a lot of questions as well. So I will try to answer them for you. I also feel like I'm at a pretty good age to talk about this just because, let's be honest, if you're in your 20s, well, we'll get into that, but I feel like now being a little bit into my 30s, I can actually give some great advice on Botox. So first of all, I want to talk about the different kinds, and that is true. There are different kinds of Botox. There's Botox, which is like the name brand version of it, and then there's xeomins, which is actually what I've been getting for the last over 2 years at this point. And honestly, I can't tell a single difference between the two. It really is just the generic version of it, not the name brand version. So whichever one you feel most comfortable with. Xeomin's is significantly cheaper than Botox. Obviously prices will change depending on where you are. I live in one of the most expensive cities, New York City, and so it's going to be probably pricier here, but I go to Laser Away, and which I'll also talk about, but their pricing currently, there are sales, I will say. So sometimes I've gotten Xeomin for as low as like $7 a unit, and Botox generally goes for $15 a unit. Standard price for Xeomin's is $9 a unit. So you are looking at $6 extra per unit. I usually buy what's called like a bank, and so that means you just buy in bulk, essentially. I'm sure dermatologists or other places might let you just buy what you need, but places like Laser Away, you have to just buy a package and then use your package as you go. So I usually buy a 100 unit bank because I tend to get more units each time that I go. But obviously the more you buy, the lower the price will be. So I think now they have a deal with like 150 unit banks, but there it is. So how often I have to get Botox? This differs per person and it depends on a few different things. But one of the biggest things, especially that I've noticed, is how active you are. I hate to tell you, but this is like the one time in life where it's not really great if you work out consistently. If you're working out a lot, more than 2 times, 1 time a week, then you're going to be flushing toxins from your body at a greater rate. And frankly, Botox is a toxin. And so you're gonna have to get Botox more often if you're more active. I work out about 3 to 4 times a week. And so I have to get Botox every 3 months on the dot. Some people I know can wait 6 months, 8 months. It completely depends on how active you are, your genetics, a few different things, but mostly how active you are. So just keep that in mind. Another big question is how much should you be getting? And I even thought in the past, if you have to get more, it's because you have more wrinkles. And that is actually not the case at all. It's all about what's a problematic area for you and what you want to freeze, because different parts of your face have stronger muscles. And in addition to that, it's also about the composition of your face. So my face, for example, I have a relatively large forehead. I've got like the 4, almost 5 finger forehead. So I have to get a lot of Botox because I actually just have more muscle because my face is bigger, if that makes sense. And in addition to that, my problematic areas, like most people probably want to get Botox here, and that muscle is so strong that it takes a lot. So depending on where they're injecting, and I'll try to walk through exactly how much I get in each area, but just be warned, it's gonna differ per person. So your friend might be getting 50 units and you might go in and you only get 20 units, or vice versa. Just because you get more units doesn't mean that you look old or that you have more wrinkles. It's all about your muscle, your face composition, and just how active you are, essentially, with your face. That's another thing, is I'm extremely expressive. And so the whole reason I really wanted to get Botox in the first place was because of my forehead lines. It doesn't personally bother me to have eye lines or, anything that evokes emotion, like laughing. Even this area really doesn't bother me that much. It was really these horizontal forehead lines that I was starting to get around my mid-20s that were starting to bother me. And so that's why I started getting Botox in the first place. And I started at the age of 27. I feel like I'm repeating myself every time, but there's no like one age for getting Botox. I move my face all the time. I'm so expressive with my face and with my body language in general that I had really worn those muscles in over the course of my lifetime, even though I was like 26, 27 years old. But I had other friends that wanted to start getting Botox and still think they need Botox to this day, that are in their mid-30s, and they look fantastic. They just don't have that kind of facial expression like I do, and they don't really need well, no one needs Botox, but you know what I mean. They don't need it at all. They have no wrinkles to fix. And so I wanted to go in and fix essentially those horizontal wrinkles. So what's it like to actually get it? I will insert some clips. I actually just got it 3 days ago. So that's why I still have a lot of movement, because Botox does take about 14 days to completely settle in. I personally notice after about a week, my face starts getting a little more immobile, but right now I can move my face around a decent amount. So if you're wondering like why I can, it's because the Botox hasn't settled in yet, or the xeomin hasn't settled in yet. And so it takes about 14 days. You go into the office. Normally your appointment's gonna be 15 to 30 minutes. It's very, very quick. And I think they probably would numb you up. I don't know. I've never really needed numbing cream because the needles are like really, really small. And I don't know, it's a quick pinch. Some of them will give you a little exercise ball to hold on to, but you'll basically come into the office. You'll kind of talk through what your options are, what you want. Obviously, if it's, you've been there a million times, they'll pull up your profile, they'll take some pictures of you, and then to just track your progress. And then they will mark you. So they'll kind of mark you up. You'll look a little crazy, but that's so that they know exactly where to put the injections. Then they'll leave the room. Then they'll put, the concoction together. They'll come back in, and then they will inject you. You do look like you have a bunch of mosquito bites all over your head for, I'd say, about half an hour after you get it done. So if people are looking at you weird when you're walking down the street, like, don't plan a date like 30 minutes after. Oh, and on that note, don't drink alcohol. Don't drink alcohol, avoid saunas, avoid facials. You can't work out for, a day after. So don't plan anything kind of crazy before or after, getting your Botox. What else do you need to know? So yeah, then they inject you, and then you're done. And then you leave, and you sort of have these crazy mosquito bites, and then you give it about 7 days to sink in, and then you're good to go. If you're unsure where to go, look, I am in New York City. I could go anywhere. There's probably hundreds of thousands of places that would give Botox in this city. Normally, you can go anywhere from a med spa to a dermatologist office to, I'm sure, some other places that would administer Botox. Now, I'm not a doctor, obviously, so take this all with a grain of salt, but I would recommend going somewhere that does Botox a lot. Hundreds of people a week. Like, people are coming into the office all the time. They're used to having Botox patients. They are very well practiced, in my opinion, just because they're gonna have a ton of experience. I have loved my experience with Laser Away, obviously not sponsored, I'm just giving them a shout out, for multiple reasons. Number one is that if you buy a Botox bank at one of their locations, they have a location in basically almost every state all over the country, if not every state, most of the states. And so if you move, like for example, I moved from California to New York, I was able to transfer that and I didn't lose out on my bank. So it's really nice for that. You could go to, maybe you're traveling, you can go to another laser way and use the bank that you've purchased. So it's a nationwide chain, but it's actually linked up, which is fantastic. It was great for that reason, but also because even though their name is laser, they really focus on laser treatments and Botox. They do so much Botox. I can't even tell you. Like, I don't even know the numbers on how many people they inject, but it's insane. And what I also love is they have a profile where they can see all of your pictures, your entire history. So even though you're not getting the same nurse every time, they go into your profile and they know exactly how many units you've gotten where. So I can go in and just say, hey, like my forehead kind of loosened up really quickly last time, you know, about after a month and a half, I had movement. Can we do more in this part of my forehead? And they know. I didn't know about Botox going in is the incredible sort of like lift that it gives to your face. I think you hear just about like suppressing wrinkles or making yourself look younger, but what I didn't know about is called the brow lift. And this, I think, is something that truly, really opens my face, makes me look well rested. And the brow lift is special because it's not so easy as just like putting in a couple of injections so that your eyebrows kind of have this nice lift. They have to balance it out. Otherwise, you could get a really heavy brow as well. So depending on, you know, if you like that look, I've also had friends that have gotten it and they're like, it's a little much. So it depends on the face. It doesn't work for everyone, but for me, I feel like I really love it. Definitely gives you that sort of like Bella Hadid, Karlie Kloss sort of lift. So definitely look into the brow lift. Some other people get something called a lip flip, where if you have like a gummy smile, you can get injections here and it'll kind of like move your lip up so that you don't see so much of the gum. I don't really have that, so I've never gotten that, but I do have friends that have that. So I would definitely consult and just be really clear about what are the parts of your face that bother you, such as my horizontal forehead lines, and then ask them sort of like, what are your options and what they would recommend for your face. Especially if they see a lot of patients, they're gonna be able to look at your face pretty easily and understand what's gonna work well for you. And from a cost perspective, out of all of the beauty treatments I could do or have done or spend money on, I personally think Botox is the best. It costs, like I told you, if you do the math, given that I have to go every 3 months, I spend about $1,200 a year on Botox, which means I spend about $100 a month on Botox. With that $100 a month, you could be buying a bottle of La Mer for a 3-month period. You could be buying a monthly facial. But for me personally, I like spending money on Botox. Botox and lasers, which maybe I'll talk about in another video, I personally think are the most effective way to spend money when it comes to beauty. Between drinking more water, sleeping a lot, and getting Botox, I feel like you can tell a noticeable difference in my face. I think it's completely worth it. So if you're kind of on the fence about like, I'm on a budget, but I'm not really sure where I want to put my money, I really would encourage you to at least try Botox and sort of compare it to some of your other regimens. If you have any questions that I didn't cover in the video, just leave them below and I will try to get to them as soon as possible. And I will see you all in my next video.